Well, certainly this is a difficult one for Europe because while it is concerned, and clearly what's going on in Libya is against any European values or European conceptions of freedom of speech and democracy, yet nevertheless there are, as you correctly point out, serious economic interests at stake. Italy, for example, receives 20% of its oil requirements from Libya. Libya is a significant oil exporter, the fourth largest producer in Africa, and as well as Italy, it also exports to Germany, Spain and France. The Europeans as well are really dependent upon Libya's cooperation to police its long coastline, 2,000 kilometres of Mediterranean coastline. Clearly a potentially leaky coastline, leaky borders through which illegal immigrants could seek to travel and do seek to travel from Africa into Europe. And Libya is aware of this dependency that Europe has on its patrolling those waters and is using it, if you like, to blackmail or to try to twist Europe's arms. And there have been quite clear statements from the Libyans to the EU. They've said, we will suspend our cooperation on controlling illegal immigration if you, the Europeans, continue to apparently encourage these demonstrations. So the Libyans there are clearly playing hardball against the Europeans at this time.
All right, Jackie Rowland from Brussels. Let's continue discussing those developments in Libya. Ihab Arousi is a Libyan political activist. He joins me from London. Thanks so much for joining us. You've probably been seeing that very emotional speech at times given by the son of Muammar al-Gaddafi. Is the regime losing control? Are these its final moments that we're witnessing now?
Yes, that's very clearly. And he's trying to destroy from inside at the moment, as we had information from a very trusted point that all the police and army that is still under his hands is being ordered to drop the uniform and come as a civilians, and the target is to get into the banks and the big shops and rape them. So therefore he's initiating for a civilian war.
Is the message being given here that it's either us or chaos, and that particularly Libya's oil reserves, oil production could be in complete chaos? Is kind of a scare tactic that's going on?
This is his message. He's always trying to scare the Libyan nation. But we're saying no more. We are here, we are staying, and we will take him out.
And looking at the situation, it seems like several cities in the east, if those reports are correct, it seems like several cities in the east are already in the hands of protesters. What are his options for those elements he still controls of the security forces at this point?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what option does he have to try and retake those cities?
Well, the only thing is at the moment is, as his son been mentioned in his speech last night, is about the civil war. And what he's doing at the moment by ordering all the police where they actually already having guns and trying to rape and to tell the people inside that it is those parties among, or those people among you, and the civil war is started. So that's the only way he's trying to do at the moment. So that's our call for all the Libyan there in Tripoli or any city in Libya to look careful about those people who are actually dealing this damage to the banks or any kind of things, and to look that they are actually belongs to the Gaddafis and his son safe.
All right, it's good to get your observations on that. Thanks so much. Well, to Yemen, where witnesses in southern city of Aden say a teenager is being killed and 4 others wounded in fighting with soldiers. Protesters have gathered in the capital Sana'a for an 11th straight day of anti-government demonstrations. President Ali Abdullah Saleh has described calls for regime change as unacceptable. Well, he's labelled the pro-democracy movement a disease. Hashim Ahlabarra has more now from the Yemeni capital.
Ali Abdullah Saleh has struck a very defined note, telling the protesters and the opposition that there's no way he will tolerate a regime change through rallies on the streets. Let's listen to what he had to say.
We have offered a package of reforms in a meeting with the Parliament. It was in response to calls by the opposition, but unfortunately, as soon as we made it and were endorsed by the people, the opposition raised the bar of its demands. And whenever we offer more concessions, they would ask for more.
But there is still room for reconciliation. He has invited the opposition for a live televised debate to find a way out of the crisis in Yemen. He told the opposition, why would you go to the US embassy or to the EU embassies to find a solution to the problem? You have to talk to me and let the people judge. Ali Abdullah Saleh is known for his own off-the-cuff characterizations of events in the world. He described the pro-democracy momentum as an influenza. He told the international media, you have a flu, you sneeze and everybody catches the flu. He doesn't seem to be willing at this particular moment to give further concessions to the opposition and to the protesters. He's been telling us that whenever he offers concessions, the opposition would raise the bar of demands, and that he is defiant and determined to maintain his position that only ballot box will have to decide the future of the country.
Well, still to come here. As the unrest in Libya spreads and oil prices rise, could the country's exports be disrupted? And why the cracks are starting to show in China. Chinese farmers dig deep to overcome the worst drought in 200 years.
First came the warnings.
People in the countryside elect a government, and people in Bangkok bring it down.
Then, the protests. The demonstrations turned violent, and Bangkok burned. As the dust settles on a divisive and bloody year, Raghi Omar returns to Bangkok and asks what is the future for Thailand. The Raghi Omar report, at this time on AlJazeera.
We do accept that there was very bad mistakes made in our banking area.
Behind the headlines,
most South Koreans are not interested in reunification.
Is the inside story at this time on AlJazeera.
In a new series of one-hour documentaries, AlJazeera English showcases films from across the AlJazeera network.
Lebanon, a land with no common history. Listening to the views of students, an important lesson can be learned. How contradictions and inconsistency can cripple a country's development long after the end of the civil war.
AlJazeera World at this time.
AlJazeera focused as the troops pulled out. We focused when barriers were built and walls came down.
Women have been voted into parliament.
On the raising of one voice and the silencing of another.
Somebody knew he